Hello, we are back. Today is Pluto in the seventh house. So to give a quick overview, I don't really like to spend too much time on the overview. We have Pluto, which is about transformation, where we experience like power struggles. I'm sorry guys, I'm out of breath because it's hot. Where we transform, those power struggles will cause us to transform. Places, areas of our life where we express our sexuality, where we become obsessed with things that we kind of investigate deeply. And death. And then the seventh house is the opposite of the first house. So this is the other. This is everyone other than ourselves. Not necessarily friends, but friends too. Just our relationships with other people. Mostly though, in the seventh, we're going to focus on romantic, business, and yeah. So this is a very straightforward placement. I feel like some of them, it gets more esoteric and you gotta be like, well, how does this match with this? Pluto in the seventh is very straightforward. When we are doing anything in the seventh house, no matter what planet, no matter what sign, there is an inherent need for you as a Pluto in the seventh house person to learn the ways of Libra, to be a good friend and to be a good partner, to be a good business partner. And when you have Pluto here, you're really going to struggle with doing that. And that's because unconsciously you want power over these people that you have these relationships with. You are going to be in a tug of war and a power struggle for some sort of dominance in a relationship. It doesn't really go well. This is not like super easy. It's not like how Pluto was in the 8th, or I think Pluto does really well in the 10th. Here, Pluto is just not really Libra-like. It's going to be power struggles. Either you're trying to dominate someone or they're trying to dominate you. Probably both interchanging throughout your life. And this is because you feel deep down in your heart that if you can control, if you're exerting the most control over these relationships, then they will go how you want them to go. If I am starting a business, if I'm starting up a McDonald's with my best friend, if I say, hey, no, we're going to put it on this street and we're going to sell it for this price and we're going to hire these kind of people. If I'm in control, nothing can go wrong, right? It's not in someone else's hands to mess anything up. When you're in a relationship with anybody, you kind of put your eggs in their basket. And then as just is life, they are free to do whatever they want. Now, you'd hope that they would care for your metaphorical eggs, your feelings, as you would expect them to, as you would do for them. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they fling the basket around, they break it, we hurt our feelings, we get hurt. We get hurt in love, we get hurt in business. And your thing is, if I could control it, that won't happen. If I'm calling my partner constantly and saying, where are you at? What are you doing? Send me your location. If I'm constantly reaching in and checking the odometer to see how many miles you've gone, does it add up? When you said you were hanging out with your friend Tony, I'm going to maybe send Tony a message or throw it in conversation next time I talk to Tony, just to make sure. If I do all that, and if I am so obsessive and intense and exerting so much control over another person, then nothing can go wrong in your mind. But that's not really true, because a lot of times we are, with Pluto here, we are meant to feel intense feelings. This can be betrayals. It's very Scorpio. Like, the bottom line is somebody can still cheat on you. Somebody can still hurt your feelings. You putting so much effort into exerting control in a relationship of any kind does not 0% improve your chances of that relationship working out. And in fact, it's kind of ironic because it actually lessens the chance. It actually pushes people away from you. It actually draws people into you because subconsciously they're feeling this energy from you, who will cheat on you and who are doing all the things that you suspect, but they're sneakier than you. They're one step ahead of you. I love the show You. And it's like when Joe met Love Quinn and she was just as crazy as he was, it's like that whole show, Joe, and it's just the whole vibe of the show, being obsessed with a partner, is very much Pluto in the seventh house. you can do all this and it doesn't guarantee anything, and all you've done is depleted your energy and taken away your own peace of mind to just enjoy your relationship. So, and I get it because I have Venus and Scorpio, so it's like it's kind of the same energy, but I'm also a double Sag, and I've talked to so many Sagittarius people and they just have this philosophy of like, if someone's gonna cheat, they're gonna cheat, and eventually everything that's in the dark is gonna come to light. I'm not gonna stress myself out about it. I'm not gonna be naive and just let them do whatever, but I'm not gonna be up all the time of the night, you know what I'm saying, trying to piece together, like you're playing private detective all the time. You're playing chess with and trying to exert these power moves all the time, and it just doesn't ensure at all any success of your relationship. On the flip side, somebody could be trying to do this to you. They could constantly be just like domineering of you, possessive, controlling, obsessive, constantly, you know, calling you, want to hang out with you, see where you are. You may feel like the partners that you attract never really give you a break. The partners, and seventh house is also about the type of partners we're going to attract. They're going to be very intense, especially our generation. There's a lot of people that probably have this in Scorpio. They're going to be very intense. They're going to be very passionate, and you like that. You do like the intensity and the passion, but you do have to learn how intensity and passion and being very closely bonded to someone does not mean that they can stalk you or ask you where you are every 5 seconds or stress you out about the bond, because as you learn to evolve and you grow with this placement, that's the lower rung of Scorpio. The higher rung is the deep intensity and trust. So you may have a couple of these relationships or attract those people, but eventually as you get older, you'll more and more quickly kind of end those and push those off to the side, because that's not the type of intensity you want. That is a less evolved intensity. As far as a partner that you will want to attract, somebody that's Scorpionic, somebody that's intense, even if Scorpio is not the sign that is on your 7th house, you'll still attract Scorpionic people, because that's just the nature of Pluto. People that are like, I don't know, more lighthearted, like Gemini energy, people that are more cold, Capricorn energy, even Sagittarius energy, unless you have Pluto and Sag, which a lot of people do, they're not really going to be doing it for you. Somebody that's like a serial dater, somebody that you could tell is just not super serious, it's just not really going to appeal to you. You want somebody who you feel like is in it, is going to be in it for the long haul. You want somebody who you feel like you're going to feel intense emotions for. If you don't feel intensely for somebody, then it's just not even going to start. It's not even going to go anywhere. It's just going to die away. And depending on who you are, that could be very transformative. You got to look at the rest of the chart. I had a friend in high school. She was like a quadruple Taurus, and she was just so chill and always laughing. She had Jupiter and Sag, and when she got her first boyfriend, he was so possessive and controlling, and every time you'd kind of like speak to her, he would answer, or he was always kind of like standing in front of her, or just these like subtle power plays. And I seen a different side of her, or a submissive part of her, I guess, where she was like fighting to evolve her 7th house Pluto. And it was interesting because I had never seen that in any other area of her life. But Pluto is very intense, very powerful. And after you date these people, they will change you. So each person that you date, much like a Venus and Scorpio, the death and the rebirth, you'll come out a different person. Maybe you meet somebody and you have a hard time cleaning up. And now all of a sudden, after them and your experience with them, you take something from them like cleaning that you will never forget. You take stuff from each person and they forever change you, and you always hold on to it. Be it good or bad, it's up to you to use it positively to evolve. And I want to say, one of the reasons that you attract these kind of Scorpionic partners is because you do want that intensity. You want the openness and the beauty of what it means to connect with somebody on an intense level. There's, you know what I'm saying, like people that we date in a life and it's not really serious or doesn't really go anywhere and it doesn't really bring a lot out of you. And then we have like our significant relationships, that these are the people that you tell stuff to that like only 5 people in the world know, but you told this person. These are the people who you can look at like these kind of relationships that you want, you'll look at somebody in the eyes and they just know what's wrong. Or, you know what I mean? Someone who just knows you inside and out so deeply. You want that. But you're also scared of it at the same time because, again, the eggs in the basket, they have the power over you. To merge with anybody in the 7th house way, especially if you're doing it with Pluto, especially if you're doing Pluto and Scorpio, is intense. To marry someone, to live with someone, to have kids with someone. These are intense experiences and you really just don't want to get your feelings hurt. But you also are struggling because you want the joy of that closeness. So it's really up to you to know in your life that if you do want the beauty that comes with merging with another person and with other people, doing things with other people, opening a business with someone, just socializing in general, being close to others in general, opposite of ourselves, you will have to be vulnerable for a second and you will face pain because Pluto is pain. It will knock you down. But you're going to have to learn to pick yourself up and you will have to accept the fact that people that you are very close to, that you've been very vulnerable with, can and probably will hurt you. And the lesson that Pluto is trying to teach you is that you're not going to die. You're going to be okay. It says more about them than you, and to never let that stop you from merging again, because that's where you find the beauty. So that is a big lesson here on the power that you try to play, why you try to play it, and that you cannot really avoid what it is you're trying to avoid. You're supposed to go through it gracefully. That is what Pluto is teaching you here. Because Pluto is like very much a planet of power, your relationships could have like a power dynamic, much like I said with Pluto in the 11th, like where your friends can have power over you or you over them. They could be codependent or manipulatively powerful in nature. I think about Jocelyn and Stevie J from Love and Hip Hop, where she was like, you know, I'm never going back to the strip club.
What? I send you back to the strip club. You send yourself back to go pimping, bitch.
So it was like, they're in a relationship, but he has some kind of power over her too. And you could tell it makes her emotional because she has shared these things, but he uses it over her. And that was very much a Pluto in the 7th house. I have power over, we're together, but I also have an outer world, like practical power over you. And this could be in the form of like, maybe somebody like pays your car note and then, you know, it's a power play because now you don't want to argue with them because you don't want the car taken away. Or, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you guys live together. It can be very codependent in nature. I've seen this from Pluto in the 7th house people. I was thinking like a Krishan and a Blueface, not to say that they have this. I don't know what their risings are, but very much kind of like codependent on each other, kind of toxic, kind of too much, too close all the time. So those are the relationships that were like called to mind when I was thinking about examples. The partners you attract, that will also be, like I said, scorpionic, dark, intense. They may be physically dark. They may be emotionally dark in the sense that, like, even if they're not acting this way to you, which they probably are, probably always trying to get like revenge on people, probably just saying some really dark shit sometimes, and you're just like, okay, intense, brooding. The things that you guys do in an intimate way will also be very bonding to you. That's very important with your partner. So yeah, scorpionic type people, scorpionic type situations. I urge you guys to watch Venus and Scorpio videos to get a better feel, because that really ties the love and the Scorpio energy together. And if, you know, depending on where your Venus and Scorpio is, if you have Venus and Scorpio, this will be conjunct your Pluto, which makes this 1,000 times more intense. So now Pluto is about investigations and about digging. You have a need to study your partner. This is, like I said, similar if you guys watch my Pluto in the 11th. You're going to be watching them. Again, like the show You. You are going to be seeing the littlest things about them. If they, you know, from the most mundane to like what kind of snacks they pick up at the store, to things that are a little bit more subtle and psychological. Like if a dog walks past them and they kind of flinch, you won't say anything and maybe they won't say anything either, but you'll just know, like, okay, they're scared of dogs. Or if they, anything that is like their deepest fears or their greatest hopes or their greatest wishes, you are really paying attention to the inflection and the tone in their voice and what they talk about and how many times they talk about it. You are like a private investigator of your partner, not just with where they go, what they do, who they talk to, looking through the phone. That's a big thing that I would think you guys would do, checking the search history. That's definitely you guys. You know, and that's me too, because I got Venus and Scorpio a little bit past me, but you're also studying who they are as a person. If you are less evolved, you could be doing this in a way to manipulate them. If you go on their Netflix account while they're in the bathroom or something and you see, oh, Janie was just watching, I don't know, Arrested Development. When she comes back, you may, you know, act like you weren't doing that and be like, oh, you want to watch Arrested Development? And they'll be like, oh my God, that's my favorite show. And you'll be like, really? You already knew that. You already played private investigator, and now you're using what you acquired to be manipulative, to again become closer to your partner, to control your partner, to like lock them in with you, to make them think like, oh my God, we like the same shows. And that's just a small example. You really will study them, and you really got to make sure not to use your powers for evil. Make sure they're not doing that to you. I would refrain telling people things when you guys are in relationships that are very sensitive and vulnerable to you, unless you really trust that person. Since you have Pluto in the 7th house, you're probably at some point trusted the wrong person, and they could hurt you. But I would say just be careful, because you're going to be with people who can manipulate you or try to use what you said in a vulnerable moment against you to hurt you, to lock you in. And I just don't want to see you guys get into that. So be careful about what you reveal, how much, and how soon. So be careful what you come to know. Be careful how you come to know it. Make sure it's always through honest means. And be aware of your weaknesses and the weaknesses of others. And don't be afraid to take a break from forming relationships and dating other people until you work this stuff out. We don't do that enough as a society. We just date. No, sometimes you need to take some time and work on yourself before you bring any kind of drama or toxicity to somebody else. Once you fix that within yourself, you'll more easily be able to see it and recognize it. Somebody say, I don't want you bringing that over here either. And then you will be able to attract the person who's intense but isn't stalking you, the person who wants to form a deep bond but isn't doing so in a manipulative manner. So I got some homework for you guys, those who are Pluto in the 7th. These are some questions I think you guys should answer to reflect on within yourself. Here are the 3 questions. 1, are there any people in your life who you feel like you play a tug of war with in a relationship about anything, about time, attention, conversation topics? Is there anybody you feel like you're playing tug of war with? Why are you playing tug of war with them? The 3rd and final question would be, what would happen if you lost the tug of war? If you guys as Pluto in the 7th house can answer those questions about the people in your life, then I think you've just solved the case. I've just solved the case for you, because that's all it is. Who am I having a power struggle with? Why? And what would happen if I lost? If I'm asking my girlfriend every day when she's in the shower, I'm checking the odometer to make sure that the miles match up to where she said, and I'm calculating it on Google Maps. Why are you doing that? Because, you know, I'm saying, though, that's your answers to go through. And then what would happen if it was the worst case scenario? Pluto, again, is teaching you that you will live. You'll be okay, even if the worst thing happened. And that is why you should not look for the worst thing. If you stop focusing your energy on the manipulation and the negative and the vulnerability, being scared to be vulnerable, you will be able to do so in a beautiful way. So there are also, along with the 3 homework questions that I want you guys to just write down or have for, you know, for yourself forever, for every relationship. There are 3 main lessons here that I feel like Pluto in the 7th is here to teach us. Grab my computer, make sure I read it just how I wrote it. The first lesson, understand and dissect the need for power. You could do that through the homework questions I asked you, through therapy, whatever. The second lesson here. The soul's lesson here is to bond deeply while finding the karmic balance between loving passionately and letting the person or object of your affection be an individual. And the third and most powerful lesson is there is extreme vulnerability in opening up to someone, but also extreme beauty in doing so. So, I thought that this was a fairly straightforward placement, but it is one of the most intense Pluto placements. But I really enjoyed learning about this, and if you have this, I know you got some crazy stories, so please drop it in the comments. Let me know. Let's talk about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time for Pluto in the 6th house.